In the modern NFL, the game has become this incredible high-stakes chess match. It's not just about who's bigger or faster on the field anymore. It's a battle of wits that's happening in film rooms, on whiteboards, and on tablets on the sideline. Offenses are just evolving at this absolutely blinding speed, right? It forces defensive coordinators to get creative, to innovate, or they are going to get left behind in a hurry. So today, we're going to dive deep into one of the most fascinating defensive experiments I've seen in a while, the Indianapolis Colts Grizzly defense. It was a really bold gamble, one they designed to completely shut down the run game. But, as we'll see, it also exposed a secret, critical flaw. A flaw that could end up defining their entire future.
All right, so here's the game plan. First, we're going to set the stage and talk about the challenge every single defense in the league is facing right now. Then, we'll get into Indy's really unique answer to that problem, this Grizzly front. After that, we'll see how that brilliant solution turned into a bit of a double-edged sword. And that's when we get to the juicy part. We're going to break down exactly how the genius Kyle Shanahan offensive system found the chink in the armor and just blew it wide open. And finally, we'll step into the GM's shoes and figure out how the Colts might be able to draft the perfect antidote to fix this thing for good.
For decades, right? The biggest argument in defensive football was so simple. Are you a 4-3 team or a 3-4 team? 4 guys on the line or 3? That was it. That basically defined your entire defensive identity. Well, let me tell you, those days are ancient history. In today's NFL, offenses are spreading you out with 3, 4, sometimes even 5 wide receivers on any given play. It's all about speed and space. So the new base defense, the one you see most of the time, is the nickel, with 5 defensive backs on the field. The Colts defensive coordinator, Lou Anarumo, he gets this. He's built his whole philosophy around this idea of being fast and adaptable. But this creates a really fascinating problem. It's a strategic dilemma. If you build your entire defense to stop the modern passing attack, what in the world do you do when an offense decides to go old school, brings in extra tight ends, and just tries to run the football right down your throat?
Okay, look at this number, 7. This number right here tells you everything, and I mean everything, you need to know about how committed the Colts are to modern defensive football. 7. That is it. Over an entire 17-game season, the Indianapolis Colts lined up in what your dad or grandpa would call a traditional base 4-3 defense for a grand total of 7 snaps. That's just a mind-blowing statistic. It proves they've completely thrown out the old playbook. But here's where it gets weird. Here's the paradox. The data also shows that they played over 200 snaps with base personnel on the field. So wait a minute. How can both of those things be true? How can you completely abandon the base defense but still play with base personnel? Well, the answer lies in a very, very special package they cooked up.
So this is where the Colts' real innovation kicks in. See, offensive coordinators aren't dumb. They saw Indy's smaller, faster nickel defense on tape, and they thought, hey, we can bully these guys. So they started bringing in extra tight ends, fullbacks, what the coaches call 12 personnel, 13 personnel, 21 personnel, basically big bodies. They wanted to pound the rock. Well, Lou Anarumo knew he couldn't just stand by and let his cornerbacks get run over by a 260-pound tight end. No way. He needed a specific counterpunch. He needed to get more beef up front. He had to stack the box and send a very clear message to the offense. And that strategic necessity, that's the birthplace of the Grizzly front.
So, what in the world is the Grizzly front? Well, the concept, which was actually borrowed from the super innovative Baylor coach Dave Aranda, is both radical and, at its core, pretty simple. It's a 5-2 alignment. So forget everything you know about 4-man lines. This puts 5, count them, 5 massive defensive linemen on the field at the same time. And 3 of those guys are true space-eating defensive tackles whose only job is to clog up every single interior gap. Behind that human wall, you only have 2 linebackers left to roam and clean everything up. The goal here is just brutally simple. Create an impenetrable wall of humanity right at the point of attack and leave the running back with absolutely nowhere to go. It's a formation designed to make running the ball an absolute total nightmare.
And the result of this alignment? Well, it's a truly intimidating sight for any quarterback standing back there in the shotgun. When you add it all up, you've got the 5 linemen, the 2 linebackers, and then you have a safety like Nick Cross creeping down from the secondary. You get this, 8 defenders packed in the box, which is that area near the line of scrimmage. Now just imagine you're the QB. You look across the line and you see 8 guys staring back at you, all of them within a few yards of your running back. It is a clear, unmistakable message to the offense. It says, we see your heavy personnel. We know you want to run the ball, and we are committing every single possible resource we have to stopping you. It's really pure, old-school smash-mouth football theory, just wrapped up in a new, modern, specialized package.
So, the million-dollar question is, did it actually work? Oh yeah, it worked. It worked beautifully. Against the run, the Grizzly front was an absolutely dominant force of nature. Across 103 total attempts from opponents, they gave up a measly 3.3 yards per carry on average. But the game-by-game numbers, that's where it gets even more stunning. Look at this. Against the run-heavy Pittsburgh Steelers, the Colts allowed an average of negative 0.25 yards per carry. That's statistically absurd. That means on the average running play, the Steelers were losing ground. Think about that. And against their division rival, the Houston Texans, it was just 1.79 yards per pop. The takeaway is just undeniable. As a specialized tool designed to stop the run, the Grizzly front wasn't just good, it was an overwhelming, game-wrecking, soul-crushing success.
But, and you knew there was a but coming, this is where our story takes a very sharp turn. See, in the NFL, a defensive scheme that's designed to be so overwhelmingly strong in one area often creates a hidden, sometimes fatal weakness in another. It's like a law of physics. While the Grizzly front was swallowing running backs whole, these really savvy offensive coordinators around the league started to notice the trade-off. They realized that by committing so many players, so much focus and energy to stopping the run, the Colts were leaving themselves exposed somewhere else. They were vulnerable against the pass.
This slide right here, this tells a dramatic tale of 2 seasons all in one. For the first half of the year, the Grizzly front was surprisingly good against the pass too. Quarterbacks were held to a pretty mediocre 85.5 passer rating and just 5.6 yards per attempt when they threw against it. It really looked like the Colts had found the perfect, unbeatable defense. But then, the league adapted. The film got out. The Colts started facing a totally different kind of beast, the super sophisticated play-action schemes that come from the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree. And against those teams, the numbers just exploded. The yards per attempt nearly doubled, skyrocketing to over 10. All of a sudden, the Grizzly front went from being this incredible all-around strength to a glaring 5-alarm fire liability. It was getting absolutely torched through the air.
So who cracked the code? Who figured it out? Well, the answer lies with one of the most influential offensive minds in all of football, Kyle Shanahan. But here's the thing, it's not just him. His coaching tree, his philosophy, has spread all across the league. You have his disciples implementing the same core principles in multiple cities. And the principle is this: an outside zone running scheme that looks identical, and I mean identical, to their play-action passes. It's designed to create chaos, to create conflict and confusion for defenses. And when they looked at the tape of the Colts Grizzly front, they didn't see a wall. They saw a target.
This quote, I know it sounds a little overly dramatic, but honestly, it perfectly captures the challenge that defenses are facing. Shanahan's system is like a plague, because it's not just one team you have to worry about. It's a philosophy. It's a concept that has infected coaching staffs all over the NFL. His disciples, you'll find them in Miami, in Houston, in Los Angeles, and more. They all run variations of the exact same core principles. And what that means is, you can't just prepare for the 49ers anymore. You have to prepare for an entire evolving style of offense. And for the Indianapolis Colts, this offensive plague found the exact weak spot in their otherwise brilliant defensive armor.
And here is the proof. The list of culprits reads like a who's who of the Shanahan coaching tree. You got Zach Robinson with the Falcons, you have the Seahawks, the 49ers themselves, of course, and the Texans. And just look at the damage they did. This wasn't some methodical dink-and-dunk offense chipping away. No, this was explosive. These were massive chunk plays. 83 yards on just 7 pass attempts for Atlanta. That's almost 12 yards a pop. The Seahawks got over 100 yards on only 9 attempts. They weren't just beating the Grizzly front, they were systematically shredding it by turning its greatest strength, its aggressive downhill run-stopping nature, into a fatal flaw.
So how exactly did they do it? Let's get into the X's and O's, because it was a masterclass in exploiting personnel. When you have 8 defenders in the box, their eyes are glued on that running back. Their first step, their entire body is programmed to go forward and attack the run. Shanahan's system uses play action that looks exactly the same as their mean run plays. For that first split second, everyone thinks it's a run, and it freezes those defenders. And in the NFL, a split second is an eternity. Suddenly, elite run stoppers like Zaire Franklin and Jermaine Pratt aren't crashing the line of scrimmage. They're being asked to slam on the brakes, flip their hips, and try to run with incredibly athletic tight ends streaking down the seam. It's the perfect mismatch, putting your best run stoppers in the worst possible position, and these offenses targeted it over and over and over again.
Okay, so the problem is crystal clear. We've laid it all out. The Grizzly front is a devastating weapon against the run, but it has this massive, glaring vulnerability to play-action passes. So what do? You can't just scrap the whole thing. It's way too effective at what it does best. No, the solution is to evolve. It's about finding the specific players, the missing pieces, who can plug that hole. And that brings us to the draft and to the future of this Indianapolis Colts defense.
This right here is the million-dollar question for the Colts front office. This is what guys like Chris Ballard get paid the big bucks to figure out. How do you maintain the absolute run-stuffing dominance of your unique defensive front while at the same time patching the huge hole in pass coverage that the smartest teams in the league have now learned to exploit? It's a really complex puzzle, but the answer, most likely, comes down to acquiring new talent with a very, very specific set of skills.
When you really break it down, the fix is probably a two-pronged attack. The first part addresses the cause of the problem. The quarterback has too much time to let those deep routes develop. So if you can generate a more ferocious pass rush with just your 5-down linemen, the QB simply can't hold onto the ball long enough for the play action to work its magic. The second part, and this is maybe the more crucial one, it addresses the symptom, that big personnel mismatch. You must find a modern linebacker who isn't just a downhill thumper. You need a true athlete who can diagnose play action in a flash and has the speed and agility to actually turn and run with tight ends and running backs in open space.
So for that first need, bolstering the pass rush, a player like Zion Young from Missouri is the exact prototype you're looking for. His production in college just speaks for itself. 9 sacks and a staggering 22 tackles for loss over his last 2 seasons. The guy is a walking disruption. Now imagine plugging that kind of player into the Grizzly front. All of a sudden, even when you're geared up to stop the run, you now have a legitimate one-on-one threat who can beat a tackle clean and get to the quarterback, disrupting the timing of the entire play. He provides that critical, much-needed pass-rushing juice from the edge.
Now for that second, absolutely crucial piece of the puzzle, the coverage linebacker. Enter a guy like Jake Golday from Cincinnati. He is a player that's been described as the antidote to this exact problem. He's widely considered one of the very best coverage linebackers in the entire draft class, and he excels in the very area where the Colts are currently struggling. Now, he wouldn't come in to replace Zaire Franklin or Jermaine Pratt. He would be the perfect complement to them. You keep your elite run stoppers on the field to do what they do best, but now you have a specialist, a chess piece, who can handle those tough play-action coverage assignments. He is, quite literally, the missing piece to the puzzle.
So it really all comes down to this. The Colts have built a creative, a powerful, and a really unique defensive weapon with their Grizzly front. But in the NFL, innovation is always met with adaptation. The league has found the flaw in the code. So the defining question for Indianapolis moving forward is whether 1 or 2 key draft picks, specifically that athletic, rangy coverage linebacker, is the final piece they need to turn this clever gamble into a truly elite championship caliber defense. What do you guys think? Is one player like that enough to solve this puzzle? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And hey, if you enjoyed this breakdown, do us a huge favor and subscribe to NFL Nexus, and be sure to like the video so you don't miss our next deep dive. And finally, if you're looking for a fun way to help support the channel, check out our football-themed coloring books. They're perfect for kids, grandkids, and hey, even for adults. You can get to them through the link in the description or by using the QR code you see on the screen right now. Thanks so much for watching.